How do you explain all the days of 1,000 summers and all of the things you saw during it when all of the days of your boyhood sort of blend together in one long sunset? At first, there was just three boys. It was the neighbor kid, it was my live-in brother, and it was me. And I was the small one, despite being the oldest as far as I knew. And that's because of my leg. I was short for a long time. And all we ever did was fight in the front yard and play with our toys. It was like most boys. Nothing ever really stood out. We were always walking around with a black eye. That's, I guess that was what kids in the 80s were like. I eventually met my mother, and she was quite advanced in years when I met her. When she had me, she was like 77 or something, because she was born at the turn of the last century, and she knew she didn't have to take care of me. The state was supposed to, and so she ignored me, and she went back to her soaps, because that was all she had to do. That's the way our society is supposed to function. There were a couple boys, and they were twins. And eventually, there was some sort of touching. It was just like the one time, the two times, or whatever. It was nothing. We were young. Someone had stolen several porno mags. It didn't mean anything. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. You know what I'm saying? And I mean that. There were lots of other boys, and it never happened again. But there were always whispers of it. It was all just comic books and regular stuff. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? It was nothing out of the ordinary 99% of the time. But one boy took it upon himself to destroy me in this way. It was the greatest gift ever bestowed upon him, that he could say that about me when I wasn't there, and now he was twice as good as me. And the reason he did this is because of the Scholastic Book Fair. I borrowed money from him several days before it and said I'd pay him back afterwards. And when it arrived, he was livid that I wouldn't give him his money back. I said, well, this is why I borrowed it. He's like, you have to give it back to me. And I said, no, I don't. This is why I borrowed it. He's like, why didn't you tell me? I was like, why didn't you know? Everyone got the flyer at school and at home. I thought you didn't care. You didn't bring it up. He said, neither did you. Well, I said, neither did you. And he said, well, now I'm going to shoot you. He was livid. He went home to get his father's gun, to get a gun to shoot me, to kill me. They contacted the sheriff about it. I swear this is true. We were still friends for a long time, and mostly all we did was sparring, karate stuff, and hanging out, playing video games, normal stuff. But we were never really very close. It was always a very strange relationship. But I didn't have anywhere to go or anything to see or anyone to talk to. One time, I yelled at a girl. This girl had knocked my live-in brother's tooth out with a steel lunchbox in plain view. And boy, did I let her have it. I yelled at her for like 10 minutes when I caught her down the street a handful of days later. And to this day, she brings this up, that I yelled at her after she broke somebody's tooth out. And her father refused to pay for the dentistry. It was weird, man. They still bring it up like I hurt her in some way. They're insane. I mean crazy. And between her and the other boy, I just one of the worst people anybody ever met. Do you understand? It's really weird, man. I was supposed to go out to the Indian reservation to be seen, but they never took me for some reason. They never wanted to take me. And they told me my mom had disowned me at some point in time or whatever. I'm like, well, she never took charge of me at any point in time, so I don't know what to tell you. She was never supposed to. The state was supposed to take care of me, and then it decided to ignore me, and I said, you're supposed to send me my paperwork. That's all I have to interact with them. And so for years I just waited for my paperwork to be delivered. But then one day, someone told me that I had been given a Hayabusa and that someone else had taken it because they hated me, and they brought up something about one of the biker gangs and how they did me like a bitch and whatever else. They can take your cow because you're a punk and this and that and the other. And I'm just like, well, it was never delivered to me, so I don't see how it was stolen, especially from me. So if that was my first car, I never got it. And to this day, I don't know what the truth is. It was just someone trying to lure me into a fight, which was more or less common, because I didn't like many kids at school. I didn't like any of them very much at all. It doesn't matter, really. I was too busy listening to grunge and heavy metal music and trying to piece it all together and figure out what's going on in comic books and music. I dropped out of school and I started going to adult ed. I ended up getting my GED and going to court. That's why I got my GED, so I could complete my probation for a petty charge for drinking or something, or having weed on me or something. Something petty, something beyond petty that I shouldn't have ever been charged with because I was an Indian. Anyways, it was all drinking and going to concerts for a very long time. And I just hung around the downtown area and talked to people. And this is 10,000 days of my life. This is an exceedingly long time. This is almost my entire story, except for the first 3 chapters, which were that intense. And then you can see how crazy it continued to be, but just very slowly in these pockets and these things. And these people never had to answer for anything. And it was all okay when they did it, but the second I did it, you know what I'm saying? They hate being seen. They hate being seen. And for 10,000 days, it's just silence. The other side of the wall just sees me as someone it can feast on. And that's the majority of my entire story, I suppose. I guess it could go on. Maybe I will later.